Prices of basic commodities skyrocket in South Sudan despite stronger local currency. And drug law enforcement agencies seized drug worth $1 million as anti-drug campaign intensifies. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. Hello, this is the World Today newscast with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. The President of the Republic of the Gambia has on Friday been awarded with the Grand Croix of the National Order of Guinea following his visit to Conakry. The award ceremony was held during the banquet in an honor of the Gambian President as part of his state visit to the West African neighbor since Thursday. More of that in this report by Binta Jallo.
President Barrow was received by the highest National Order of Guinea from his counterpart Alpha Conde at a ceremony in Conakry. The prestigious award was conferred on the Gambian leader for his contributions to the consolidation of friendship and cooperation between the two countries. In his acceptance speech, President Barrow thanked Alpha Conde for the warm hospitality and the honor accorded to his delegation in Guinea. He described his visit as a commemoration and reaffirmation of the unbreakable link of friendship and brotherhood, as well as cultural link that tie the two West Africans and their people together. For the Gambian side, the visit to Guinea came as a result of decades of partnership that have fermented lasting cooperation among them in the sub-region. Mr. Barrow called for reaffirmation of the shared values, historically essential and development of the two countries, region, and the continent as a whole. The visit to Conakry, Guinea by the Gambian leader featured a tete-a-tete with President Conde and bilateral meeting between officials of the two countries. For iAfrican News, Binte Jallo.
Now, barely a week after the commencement of the constitutional mandated exercise, numerous allegations are circulating across the country regarding the voter registration process. Banjulians will be receiving their attestation from the mayoress as the country's capital has no alcalo to facilitate the issuance. Despite some condemnation, the mayoress has assured Banjulians that she will issue an attestation based on her conscience and perception. Details of that in this report. Controversial claims has raised concern among Gambians on the voter registration process which began last Saturday. Many have the notion that the mayoress of Banjul, Rohimalik Low, should not give Banjulians attestation in order to acquire voters card because she is holding a political position of a party. Key among them is Honorable Halifa Saleh, the leader of People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, DOI. He threatens to sue the Independent Electoral Commission for giving the mayoress of Banjul the power to give attestation to Banjulians. Honorable Saleh argued that the mayoress should not facilitate attestation for people who want to acquire voters' cards as she holds a political position. But Rohim Malik Low, the mayoress of Banjul, emphasized that she will give attestation to Banjulians based on her perception and conscience.
Where is my conscience? Attestation nak?
Where is my consent? I will not do it today, I will not do it tomorrow. For the attestation, when I look at you and we saw enough that you were born here or living here in Banjul, I will give it to you. But if I look at you and feel that you are not truly a Gambian, I will not give it to you. And if you don't feel happy about it, then complain to the IEC. There are laws governing this country, no need to waste time on talking, just go to court.
Mayoress Low assured that she will not give any attestation to foreigners, saying nobody can do anything about it. The mayoress of Banjul says Banjulians should be peace setters, hence it is the capital.
We should behave peacefully and calmly. And Banjulians should know that not all rising issues should begin with us because we are very noble. Because we are staying in the capital and we should set examples. I will not look at attestations on whether you are UDP, NPP, APRC, PDOIS or GDC. But Allah knows and His messengers that I have no interest on that. And what I want is that I don't want the individual to be a foreigner. And if that is not enough for you, then nothing will be. I will not give any foreigner attestation. I said it and nobody can do anything about it.
Complaints of Gambians on authorities issuing attestation to non-Gambians and minors is a widely discussed topic across the country. Interesting times ahead as Gambians and political leaders are on loggerheads over who will lead the country come December 4th. The IEC says all applicants must have or will have attained the age of 18 by 4th December 2021 and must not be disqualified or disentitled from being registered or voting under any law. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. Food imports have significantly increased in Nigeria despite the imposed ban on the forex bureaus by President Muhammad Buhari. Africa's most populous country has spent $1.2 billion on food importation, doubling the foreign exchange used for the importation of food products in the fourth quarter of last year. More in this report.
38-year-old Ibrahim Kaura is a major rice dealer in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Due to the high demand for this staple food, Ibrahim buys between 600 to 1,200 bags of rice monthly. His major suppliers are farmers from northern Kano State.
Shortage in supply affects us mostly because the local supply isn't enough. Because what they produce here can't go around nationwide, so most of the time what we do is to mix most of our product with imported rice. If you know that you have to get like 2 or 3 trucks of rice, you have to make an order before time. If you don't make an order, you will not get the product.
Nigeria's government placed a ban on forex for food and fertilizer imports, but despite the ban, food imports more than doubled in the last quarter of 2020. The figures rose to $1.24 billion in the fourth quarter, more than twice the same quarter of 2019.
CBN has the power to say it's limiting, but to do it without consideration of the current economic reality will really be very tough. Before you ban, you need to first ensure you have created a platform for local industry to thrive. Some food items that are not properly done locally, you are going to see inflation.
Nigeria is an import-dependent nation. Food items like sugar, cereal, and fish are still imported in high volumes. This has been worsened by the recent spate of insecurity across the nation. Volumes of local food productions have significantly dropped.
Bandits, kidnappers have taken hostage of most of our farmers, and by extension, it becomes very difficult for farmers to go to farms. So because they can't go to farm, that has affected food outputs. With limited volume of food in circulation, Nigeria certainly needs to augment.
Boosting local food production would help Nigeria cut spending on food imports. But among other things, experts say it would require intensifying security efforts and ramping up a food processing chain, especially for storage and transportation infrastructure.
Now the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says corruption is immoral and a betrayal for people as he launched the global network against corruption in Australia. According to him, the anti-corruption network will enable law enforcement authorities to navigate legal processes and cooperate with countries to bring those guilty of corruption to justice. Details in this report by Seka.
At the launch of the Global Network Against Corruption in Vienna, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres described corruption as unethical and a serious crime. He said it denies people trillions of dollars and weakens democracies worldwide.
Corruption is not only immoral, but is a serious crime It is often organized and crosses borders. Most importantly, it betrays people and democracies. It steals trillions of dollars from people all over the world, usually from those most in need, and it siphons off resources for sustainable development. When powerful people get away with corruption, people lose trust in their governing institutions. Democracies are weakened by cynicism and hopelessness.
Guterres said before COVID-19 pandemic, countries worldwide engage in anti-government demonstrations with corruption as one key factors among their main grievances. He said protesters are still wary of trillions of dollars being recovered from investments, adding that commitment and cooperation is needed in the fight against corruption to expose the culprits.
We must reinvigorate political commitment to fight this crime. We must also strengthen international cooperation to recover stolen assets, to prevent those responsible for corruption from finding safe havens for themselves and their funds.
According to the UN boss, the anti-corruption network will empower law enforcement authorities to use legal process and build cooperation with countries to bring culprits to book.
The creation of the Global Operational Network of Anti-Corruption Law Enforcement Authorities, launched as United Nations General Assembly, holds its first ever special session against corruption, is a step in the right direction. The network will enable law enforcement authorities to navigate legal processes through informal cooperation across borders, helping to build trust and bring those guilty of corruption to justice.
Guterres assured that the United Nations system will continue to provide technical assistance to fight corruption based on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. He called on all governments to embrace the network and fight to eradicate it, saying ending corruption and returning stolen assets to their owners are important steps towards a new social contract. Khadija Seka, iAfrica News.
Now, prices of basic commodities continue to skyrocket across South Sudan despite the strong value of the local currency. South Sudan has raised concern on the interim of the prices on food commodities in the market. The government has, however, promised to engage traders to find a lasting solution. More of that in this report.
South Sudan depends largely on commodities imported from neighboring Kenya, Sudan and Uganda. Many residents in the capital Juba say prices of basic goods continue to rise.
Always when we try to ask the trader, they are telling us they are being overtaxed by the authority. City council take a lot of money from them. So when we ask them, can you reduce it? No, but the dollar has now come down. They said no, the dollar has come down, but the government, they are taking too much money from them. Central government, they are complaining, taking money, city council. So there's no way they can reduce the market, and they are being told to reduce the price. They cannot reduce it. So this is really the challenge we are seeing here. It's making life very difficult. The prices are going up, the salary is not being increased.
The government has not paid salaries for civil servants for months.
Now the dollar is losing value against South Sudanese pounds, but commodity prices are high. A sack of maize flour is more than my salary, let alone the other expenses like rent, medical bills and so on. The government should increase salaries for us civil servants, otherwise we cannot afford to live in this country.
South Sudan's government says it is trying to clear salary arrears for civil servants and will then review the payment structure.
The East African landlocked country heavily depends on oil to finance its budget, but a reduction in oil production from 185,000 barrels per day to 170,000 barrels per day due to COVID-19 disruptions has negatively impacted revenue generation.
The cost of different goods here also differs from one market to the other. South Sudan Central Bank says it is working to try and harmonize prices.
Our commitment to ensure that there is stability in the economy, that the exchange rate is stable, that the prices are stable, and of course under the framework of peace, that there is peace in the country. That's the conducive, environment, business environment that allow economic sectors, including banks, to learn.
The government is also promising to engage traders to find ways of reducing prices to make life easier for South Sudanese who frequent markets like this one.
The skyrocketing on prices of basic food commodities across South Sudan will take us to a short break, and we will be back with the rest of the news on the world today. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Following the announcement by the Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, of the dates for the general voter registration scheduled from the 29th of May to 11th July 2021, the National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, reminds the public that voter registration is an integral part of the electoral process, as it is key to franchise as stated in Section 39 of the Constitution, and hence a civic right and a duty for all eligible Gambians. The NCCE therefore encourages every eligible citizen to fully participate in this crucial national exercise, as it is the basis for any credible and participatory election. The National Council for Civic Education informs the public that to register and acquire a voter's card in the upcoming general voter registration exercise, one has to prove your Gambian citizenship by producing one of the following documents as stated in Section 12 of the Elections Act: birth certificate, ID card, passport, or alcalo or district chief attestation. As the Gambia prepares for this very important national exercise, the National Council for Civic Education reminds the public to stay away from any altercation and refrain from the use of abusive language, provocative actions, intimidations, thugs, and physical confrontation at all times, as these contravene the laws of the Gambia. The public is encouraged to follow due process to seek redress when the need arises during the period, to ensure that peace and stability prevail throughout the process. Voter's card is your key to franchise. Register to vote and vote wisely. This message is brought to you by the National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, with support from the United Nations Development Programme.
Welcome back, and this is still the World Today newscast. Now, in their fight against illicit drug abuse and trafficking in the Gambia, the Drug Law Enforcement Agency has announced the seizure of 436 bundles and 3 parcels of suspected cannabis sativa, weighing over 390 kilograms. According to the drug squad, an estimated $1 million worth of drugs have been seized within the West Coast region in the month of May alone, mostly around the border with Casamas. We have more in this report by Binta Jallo.
As per their operational plan for the month of May 2020, the Drug Law Enforcement Agency conducted surveillance to map out routes used by drug traffickers and operatives of West Coast region. According to officials, they are working tirelessly in targeted areas of the region such as Fonyi, Gunjur, Brikama, and Yundum. The move is meant to cope the inflow of prohibited drugs from the harvesting centers in the Casamas region of Senegal into Double CR, and also to the northern part of Senegal through Double CR. On Wednesday, a 30-year-old Gambian identified as Amadou Cherno Jallo alias Puna was arrested with an estimated 19 kilograms of suspected cannabis in his vehicle at the airport junction. Similarly, one Pa Yabang, a 42-year-old, was also arrested with bundles of suspected cannabis weighing over 17 kilos at his residence in Gunjur. In the West Coast region, a 32-year-old Boubacar Toure, a Malian, and 32-year-old Pateka were arrested while en route to the northern part of Senegal with 353 kilos of suspected cannabis. In total, the police have impounded over 390 kilograms of suspected cannabis sativa packed in 436 bundles and 3 parcels. The Commissioner of the Gambia Drug Law Enforcement Agency and its sister forces said they are doing their best in the fight against trafficking.
As you see, this is part of our tireless effort in the fight against illicit drug trafficking and drug abuse. If you look at it, this operation was done within this short period, and this amount of substance was seized.
The Commissioner of the Drug Law Enforcement Agency acknowledged the efforts of the general public, saying their operations couldn't have been a success without their participation.
We alone, we cannot do it. We cannot do it also in the absence of the other sister forces. The police, the immigration, the army, the SIS, we are all working hand in glove in this fight against illicit drug trafficking and drug abuse. So therefore, I am here urging the authorities, the general public to join us in this fight. In as much as drug is concerned, there cannot be any development in any country where we have the youths, most of the youths who are the future leader of this country involved in this drug abuse.
Most of the cannabis sativa found in the Gambia is suspected to have come from other regions, and that West Africa might be used as a transit point for drug peddlers in the West. Experts are of the view that these substances pose a serious threat to development and security in West Africa. In order to cope this menace, the Gambia's drug agency has vowed to leave no stone unturned, including the engagement of stakeholders in the supply suppression front. For Africa News, Binta Jallo.
Since the beginning of the GCCI trade fair internationally, hundreds of business enterprises were able to get recognition through the goods and services exhibited through the annual event. A unique group of companies, as part of the sponsors of this year's exhibition, has provided GCCI with CCTV cameras for effective operation. Amanda files in this report.
Many business entities, like unique groups of companies, groomed their business through the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry's annual exhibition called Trade Fair International. This event creates a platform for young individual entrepreneurs and even the general enterprises to showcase their goods and services to customers. For more than 2 decades, unique group of companies has been operating in the elevation of technology in the Gambia through numerous services, including the installation of CCTV cameras, provision of internet services and energy.
You see at the trade fair, we are focused on security. We have secured the trade fair grounds with CCTV. We're working with the police to put CCTV across the country. You can see the feed coming from the traffic lights. So we're interested in products and services that make a difference in people's lives.
Papa Yusfanjai, CEO of the unique group of companies, said the challenges posed by the pandemic have exposed entrepreneurs to more innovative means of doing business.
We've all been affected, but I think the entrepreneurship spirit burns more when you have challenges. And with the diversification, it means that you can quickly tap into things that people need. If you look at connectivity, people were working from homes. So our networks became congested. So we had to reinvest quickly to make sure that we could provide better services. We're still trying to do that.
In the past years, an encouraging amount of entrepreneurs surfaced in the business sector, which mostly consisted of youth and women. Huge chunk of these businesses are small and medium enterprises as the country witnesses rapid population growth.
We've survived the dictatorship and we are still standing. That's why I'll take this opportunity to pray for our dearly departed during that period and during this COVID. Some people have lost their lives for us to be here today. So I want to believe we owe it to those people to do the best we can, which is to create jobs, pay our taxes, and show all and sundry that, you know, the Gambian entrepreneur is capable of doing business in Gambia, outside Gambia, and we can do it with the best standards around this world.
Unique Group of Companies, a Gambian-owned company, is one of the first locally based IT companies to develop innovative banking solutions, at the same time providing post-implementation support to banks in the Gambia. The award-winning company is now operating in Liberia and is looking forward to further expansion in West Africa and beyond. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
And in their effort to curb the further spread of the coronavirus pandemic, Tunisia has rolled out a free COVID-19 vaccination to irregular migrants who are rescued along the Tunisian coast. The non-African country is also providing medical treatment to the migrants despite the limited resources. More in this report.
More than 230 undocumented migrants have been rescued by the Tunisian Navy in less than 2 weeks. Official data shows that more than 90% of these migrants are from sub-Saharan Africa. Despite their illegal status, they are eligible for COVID-19 vaccine.
The irregular migrants who are rescued off the Tunisian coast are usually in fragile health. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, they need to go through the compulsory sanitary confinement and take the PCR test. If the result is positive, the migrant is treated just like a Tunisian citizen at confinement centers and given medication. If the result is negative, then freedom of movement is guaranteed for the migrant.
Despite its limited budget and human resources, the Regional Health Department in the southern region of Medellin is providing medical treatment and free vaccination for irregular migrants. The Tunisian Red Crescent says the majority of residents at migrant hosting centers are young and healthy.
All irregular migrants must have access to the vaccine on an equal basis with Tunisian nationals. The health department needs to step up the pace of the vaccination campaign and facilitate the integration of sub-Saharan migrants into the national vaccination platform, EVAX.
According to the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights, the undocumented migrants who failed to reach Europe departed from Libya. Many Nigerians are among the new arrivals.
Part of our consular intervention is to encourage Nigerians to enroll on the government EVAX platform. We have just made the announcement and all of them have shown willingness to register and acquire the vaccine. So we are going to also encourage them to contact the Red Crescent, how to guide them, apply and also obtain the vaccine. And hopefully all of them are going to receive the vaccine.
Tunisian civil society activists believe that migrants in irregular situations are at risk of being left behind during the pandemic. Experts assert that excluding undocumented migrants from COVID-19 vaccination programs carries the risk of transmission in these communities with spillovers into the entire population.
Now, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and the First Lady Kataha Museveni have taken their second jab of the COVID-19 vaccine. The move is in line with WHO recommendations for any individual who took the first jab to receive the second jab to curb the spread of the virus. More of that in this report by Ndai Sise.
The coronavirus pandemic has disrupted several countries and revealed how interconnected the world is. Following the development of vaccines to fight against the deadly virus, many countries around the world have stepped in to receive the vaccine and get their population vaccinated. However, as WHO recommended that any individual who took the first jab of the vaccine must receive the second jab to be fully protected from contracting the virus. Ugandan President Museveni and his First Lady on Thursday received the second and final dose of the vaccine. Museveni said vaccines are safe and effective, thus urging the public to adhere to COVID-19 preventive measures such as the wearing of face masks, physical distancing to minimize the spread of the virus. It could be recalled that on the 27th of March 2021, Yoweri and his wife received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, following the launch of the first phase of the vaccine 2 weeks earlier. Uganda's health ministry targets to vaccinate over 21.9 million people who face the highest level of infection. Uganda has received the first donation of 964,000 doses of the AstraZeneca from COVAX Facility Vaccine Sharing Program and the Indian government. According to the country's health ministry, Uganda has recorded more than 49,000 COVID-19 confirmed cases, 365 deaths, and over 677,000 people have been vaccinated. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am DCC.
In that story by DCC on Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni and his First Lady taking the second jab of the COVID-19 vaccine brings us to the end of the World Today newscast. Up next is Gambia 24 News with Sohna Tunkara for more local news, and bye for now.
Millions of people around the world don't get this vaccine here. Coronavirus not something we do. Ena sabi rest, ena sabi